Okay, so here we have an expected value or expected monetary value, kind of a problem. Now, expected value is very commonly used in industry. It's a way to make decisions, and it's a way to make decisions that considers risk. So you might have thought of this on your own. You might have thought, well, I can make a decision, and best case scenario A will happen, and worst case scenario B will happen. Well, this is a way to quantify that kind of a problem. Just as a matter of interest, this is a more complicated um, variation of this is how airlines set their prices. We know that airline prices change a lot from day to day and from seat to seat, and they use a variation of expected monetary value. They call it expected monetary seat revenue. They also call it yield management, and this is kind of how it works. So in this problem, 20.3, um, what we have here, the scenario is we have a business who needs to do some data processing, and they have different options. They can hire their own staff and have them, as their own employees, or they can outsource it to an outside vendor, or they can outsource some of it and hire their own staff. So they can have some combination of their own staff and an outside vendor. And how much this will cost is they give you. These are in thousands of dollars. So if they hire their own staff and they have a lot of business, so best case scenario, they're going to have a lot of business, it'll cost $650,000. And worst case scenario, where they don't have very much business, it's still going to cost $600,000. And then we have a medium case. And for the outside vendor, it'll cost more if it's, if the demand is high, but it'll cost quite a bit less if the demand is low because it's easier to lay off or not use contract labor than it is your own employees. And then some combination. So we can see there are different outcomes depending on the situation. So we can have high demand, low demand, or medium demand. And they figured, we'll presume through forecasting um, methods, that their probability of high demand is 0.2, the probability of medium demand is 0.5, and the probability of low demand is 0.3. So given that, what decision should they make? Well, this is the math is not complicated really. So we're going to calculate the monetary value for each decision. And since what we're looking at here is a cost, what we want is the lowest expected value cost. Now, if we were looking at revenue or profits, we'd want the highest expected value. But in this case, it's cost. We'd like to keep our costs as low as possible. So all we do is we're just going to calculate. We'll say that the expected value of the first decision would equal the result times the probability. Now I'm going to make um, the rho constant. Okay, like that. Plus, what would happen with medium demand times the rho, and I'm going to make the rho constant. Plus, what would happen with low demand? That would be E5 times now I better put some parentheses around here or the math is not going to work right. So basically what this is, what I'm doing is I'm creating a weighted average. Okay? So I'm multiplying the consequence times the probability of that consequence occurring. So the expected value in this case would be 635. Now, because I made the rows constant, I can just copy this down and I should get the right answer for all three of them. And you can see that the expected value of having our own staff would be $635,000. The expected value of some combination would also be $635,000. So in this case, I would choose to outsource it because my expected value would be the greatest. Now, um, if it turned out that demand actually was high, I would have made. You won't always make the right decision. This is just the right decision given the risk. Okay. Now, so that's the answer to part A. That's the expected monetary value. The one that's the lowest would be the best. Now, what if I had perfect info? So, for instance, if I knew the demand was going to be high, or if I knew the demand was going to be medium or low, which one would I choose? And all I'm going to do is, each case, I'm going to choose the lowest one. So if demand was high, it would be that. And if demand was medium, it would be this one. All I'm doing is choosing the lowest one for each scenario. And if the demand was low, it would be this one. Okay, so if I had perfect info, what would the expected monetary value be? It would be 520. So the expected value of perfect information is the difference between my expected value of my correct decision minus the expected value with perfect information. That's the expected value of the perfect information. So perfect information would be worth this minus this, or $50,000. So to have perfect information would be worth $50,000 for me. And that's basically how that works. So if you can do that, you should be able to do your homework. And this is our last chapter.